and welcome to my house. Well, not really my house, because what you see in the background there on the screen is not what's actually happening at my house. However, this event did take place in the United States sometime during the last year. And the way things are going, who knows? A riot could come to your house at any time. Now, things have sure changed over the last year. We have a little family program on Zoom that we have every Sunday morning, just the family getting together and chatting. And a few days ago, or several Sundays ago, the thing was brought up about last Christmas. Christmas Day, we had gotten together at my son's house, and we had a Christmas dinner and opened gifts, kids did, and so forth. And there was such peace. Everything was good. The economy was good. We were looking forward to a good year. Then all of it changed. How fast things can change. So now then, about 10 months later, the world is locked in a pandemic that could possibly have been a deliberate release by China on the world for some reason. At this present point, when I'm recording this program, the numbers of infections are going up according to the reports. Over the last year, we've had situations like you see behind me in many of the major cities. I'm not going to get into the politics of it or anything. That's not the purpose of my show now. But the thing that has existed since Donald Trump was elected is something we want to get into. I'm going to approach it from a little bit different perspective. And I also want to cover some things that may not all be in this recording, because I found that if your recording is much over 40, 45 minutes, people lose interest. I do. And in long presentations. And so we're going to break it down into a couple of programs. But the question is, why does what we call the left, or the Democratic Party, and the traditional news media have such absolute hatred for Donald Trump? Now, it's not just for Donald Trump, but for people that follow Donald Trump, whether aggressively or whether passively. In many cases, if your neighbor finds out that you're a follower of Donald Trump, or you favor his actions, then depending on their stand, they could totally turn on you and renounce any friendship you may have had. Why is that? It's not reasonable. One of the things that has caught my attention, and possibly yours too, is let's just take a member of the liberal news media, whether it's MSNBC or CNN or whatever, and something will take place, some event will take place that is beneficial, typically or generally, to the American population. Tax cut, or job increase, or whatever it may be. Doesn't matter. The facts of the matter are right there before this person, this hypothetical person we're talking about, and he looks at the facts of the matter, turns around and denies that what he has just seen is real or has happened. And he'll proclaim that in such a passionate way until you really can't doubt that he actually believes what he's saying. What is that? That's unnatural. That's illogical. Normally people don't act that way. So what is it that's happening? What has caused this? Now, what I'm going to do on the next couple of programs, I want to go back. I don't want to get into personalities and so forth. I'm going to approach it from sort of the standpoint. Let's say that a person gets his hands on a handgun, for an example, and he goes into a school and he starts shooting up the school, and he gets caught. What's the first thing that many people do, typically the media and so forth. They jump on the gun. We got to get rid of guns. Americans need to give up their guns. They don't need guns. And although there is some addressing of the person and his problems that may have driven him to that point, the blame is on the gun. Well, the gun could sit in the cabinet at home for 100 years and never harm anybody until there's some activating force picks up the gun and uses it, perhaps for good, maybe in defending somebody's life, or in a bad way, as we were just talking about. As we look at the individuals, the news media, leaders in the Democratic Party, some Republicans, and they have such hatred for Donald Trump and for people like me and perhaps people like you, people that support, not Donald Trump's not perfect. When we elected Donald Trump, we weren't trying to elect a saint. We needed somebody that could bring this country back to life, undo the damage that had been done in the 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration. And that's what he did. But so many people wanted him to be like the Apostle Paul, I guess, and do no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, or whatever. And he wasn't that kind of a person. Brash temperament, street brawler, but he got things done. And so what was the reason for all of the hatred? And to recap what I just said in this little presentation, I don't want to talk about personalities except to introduce some of the agenda that I believe has driven all of this all the way from the beginning of the Obama administration. And I want to take it into a possible future or possible future results under either a Biden administration or a continued Trump administration. Cover some things about what has happened, but we're going to approach it from a different standpoint. Going to approach it from the spiritual standpoint. Behind these people is a supernatural agenda. It's all prophesied in the Word of God, and we're going to cover it from that perspective. I hope that we can make it interesting enough so that you can say, okay, now I see what's happening. I see what their agenda is, and I see what the possible and probable future of all of this is, regardless of which road is taken, whether it's, as I said, through an a Biden administration or a Trump administration. So these are the things that we're going to cover. I'm going to lay a groundwork and then we'll take a break. This hatred that's present now was hatched some 6,000 years ago. What does that have to do with the events that are taking place now? We're going to cover that. And I hope that I can present some things that will make it meaningful for you. We'll be back in just a minute. That book, So What If I Vanish? It's a fairly new book that I've just completed a couple of months ago. It's available on Amazon, as the ad said. And it's a little what to do book in case you miss the rapture. Now, in a future program, probably after we complete this study we're in now, I want to get into what I think you'll find a very interesting study or discussion on what the rapture of the church actually is. And I think you may find it interesting if you haven't studied it. This book talks about what actions you might need to take if you miss the rapture. And actually, what does it mean to miss the rapture? And there's some stories in there. One of the stories I think is kind of interesting, hypothetical stories, fictional stories that I tell in the book, that have to do with the people or person missing the rapture. In this case, there are 3 astronauts on the space station, 2 Russian cosmonauts and 1 American astronaut. The American astronaut is a born-again believer. Both of the Russians obviously are not. That doesn't put any, Russia has a tremendous amount of fabulous Christians, a good church over there under persecution, but that's facts. But as they spend several days, one of the cosmonauts, Igor, becomes interested in what the American astronaut is reading, as every day he reads his Bible before he takes his downtime. And so they begin to talk about it. And Victor, the other cosmonaut, doesn't like it. He makes fun of it. He pokes fun at both of these guys. And as a few days go on, Igor is fascinated by what he's told about Jesus Christ, and he makes a commitment to Christ, accepts Christ. And that really sets up a lot of tension. And so on the particular morning that the story in the book takes place, Victor wakes up and he notices that there's nobody monitoring the controls and the frequencies, and so there's somebody needs to be sort of on watch every night. And I don't know, because I've never been aboard the space station, but it sounds like a good play on the story. And so Igor is supposed to be the one on duty. And so he calls out, says, "Where are you, Igor? What's going on?" No answer. He gets up and he goes over to where the bunk is for the American astronaut and for Igor, and they're both empty. Their uniforms are laying in the beds. He finds out that to his terror, that he's the only one on board the space station. The rapture's taken place. They've both been taken away. He's left there on his own. So he panics and he goes to the radio and begins to scream for help and so forth, and finally gets in touch with somebody on the ground, and they say, well, the people that were scheduled to come up and get you, the crew, we can't find them. And millions of people on the earth have vanished. We don't know when or if we'll be able to send anybody up there to get you. And so that little story closes out with his screaming, "Help, help, help, help," and there was nobody there to listen. Anyway, it kind of makes an interesting story. There's about 4 or 5 of those there. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I would encourage you to go to Amazon.com, and you can just put in T. Ralph Turner, and all my books will come up. And that one, since it's the most recently published, will be on top. And I invite you to pick up a copy. All right, we're going to close out this session, and I know that maybe we've created more questions than we have answers, but I think you'll be fascinated, is that the right term, by some of the things we're going to bring out. We're going to talk about a spiritual war in the heavenlies between spirits on both sides, and the tools of the demon spirits are those that are trying to drive the world toward a one world government. And we're going to discover at what point the world is in the formation of that one world government, what difference it makes. Is it something that has to take place? And how does that fit in the prophecies concerning the end times? And then the angelic, the God's angelic side, primarily led by the Archangel Michael, because Michael is the archangel over Israel, and Israel plays a tremendous part in all of this. So I want to just kind of take you on a journey of what I believe the agenda of Obama was, why it was so vital that Hillary Clinton be elected. And it looked like up to the last day, or the day of the election, she was going to be elected. Lucifer's timing was off on what he was trying to accomplish, and God stuck a stick in the devil's eye, and the name of that stick, Donald Trump. So we'll talk to you, probably have the other one up day after tomorrow. I'd encourage you to look for it. The Ralph Turner Show. Talk to you later.